Don't make me climb the coconut tree. That would be a catastrophe.
Okay, so Rise of Skywalker, probably your favorite film in 2019, right, Matt?
Easy. All right. In my professional, quite informed opinion on this movie, I like the funny meme you see where the old lady turns to Rey and she says, "Who are you?" And then she says, "Oh, Rey." And then it zooms in on Rey's face, and she's covered in face paint. And then it says, "Murray." That's
Oh, it's life. That's what it is.
That's my favorite scene. Oh, I love Star Wars.
No, my favorite thing is how she's on Tatooine, 36 years after the original trilogy? And somehow they have beasts there that weren't there before. Like she has some sort of weird bug alpaca thing. And I'm not saying they couldn't migrate things there, but it's like, why would a poor old lady have something who probably has never left the planet have a strange exotic animal?
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
Speaking of which, why did they have... Yeah, that's another thing, too. In the prequels, too, they had weird animals on Tatooine they didn't have in the original trilogy. And that was only 40 years before the original.
Well, the editors had to tear away.
No, it's because George Lucas loves making up weird animals.
No. That's more or less what I was gonna say.
Okay.
They had to tear away George Lucas from the controls. He was just jumping into the cockpit I need another director's cut, another director's cut. And then they all told him, no, George.
Please, George, no. There's too many Ewoks, George. The screen can't take any more of it.
We don't need a third director's cut, George. Please.
Yes, but there's 2 moons on Endor. The other one has a different race of Ewoks, and they fight all the time. Even though they don't have space travel, somehow they get from moon to moon.
Oh my god. What a funny man.
Hey, to be fair, his other films are pretty great. His One-House are always pretty great, because he just likes building little worlds and little animals. The thing is, though, he can't really do well in an established environment.
The pressure gets to him.
Well, no, he likes to do weird things, He can't leave, the little details be, He's got to always, over-explain things or completely change them and be like, oh, that was just a misdirection, or oh, that wasn't real, or blah, blah. Let's just cover that up with movie magic.
Hey, man. The story would have been told, and that's what matters.
Something like that.
Yeah. Thanks, Georgie.
I mean, they're getting a new Willow series for TV, so that should be interesting.
Willow?
Yes, George Lucas' one of his other famous films, Willow, about the halfling, and it's not Lord of the Rings.
I am kind of in the dark about it.
Oh, sure, search it right now, you'll see Willow, yeah.
I will search Willow. I am always down to see more good old...
it was a medieval fantasy setting. Where they have the little dwarves, and
but let's make an exception.
And they were trying to figure out who's going to be the next wizard. And Willow says he wanted to be wizard, even though he was, lacking of all of them and such like that. I used to watch this movie all the time when I was a kid. It's great.
Ah. All right. This does look kind of fun, yeah.
I know what you're thinking as soon as you see it.
Yeah. Oh. Willow, yeah.
Yes.
Very new to me. Going to have to research this further at a later date. Don't know.
What? Its initial release was in Japan? What the heck?
Yes,
what?
Of course.
Yeah, enter the world of Willow, journey through the far corners of your imagination to a land of myth, magic, and where dream and reality live side by side up to a place that never existed, a time that never was, in a world where a young man named Willow lives out an adventure and that explores beyond the boundaries of his own hopes and fears. That is Willow. Actually, that does hype it up a little bit too much, but it's a kids movie. Take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, they got to make it sound fantastic for the kids. For the kids.
For the kitty coos.
Now, Josiah, we are entering a new era of the SAF podcast.
Yeah, it's season 5 already. Jeez Louise.
Season 5 already. We have our shiny new intro. We have big goals on the horizons.
Big gains.
Not really. We're probably just gonna keep on reviewing movies, but so be it. That's what we love doing, anyways. And in the spirit of new times, I have come to ask you a favor, if you don't mind.
Are you talking to me or the audience?
I'm talking to you. All right. So
you didn't answer my question.
Wait,
me or the audience?
You. I'm talking to you.
Your co-host. Okay, yes. Because if you're still talking to the audience, you say, "Oh no, you."
No. What I need from you is please don't make me climb. Don't make me climb that coconut tree. I'm wearing the wrong kind of shoes, you see. That would be a catastrophe.
Oh, Batman, if I knew it was you, I wouldn't wear my wingtips. People might be wondering why we have such weird opening song, but it's actually from the Ernest movies with what's his name? Jim Varney. Jim Varney, the famous man behind the character Ernest. And on his DVDs, in several of the movies, they play this song, and it's not even copyrighted. I ran it through this Google, and they couldn't figure out what it was through voice sampling. So we're free to use it. So we're gonna use it as much as we can.
We are going to use it, and we will proceed to abuse it. After that,
in his loving memory.
Yes, of course. When I came to hang up with you in the good old States, that was the first time that I had ever watched a Ernest movie. That was a good time, though. They're
quite famous here in the South and Midwest, because that's where he was. Jim Varney started out doing local commercials. He never did any national commercials, only local commercials. And he'd go around to different areas and do local commercials for him. He went all over the country to do them, but it was mostly here in the South and in the Midwest, and a little bit on the East Coast. But no, and those films were inspired by his comedy in the commercials. And in fact, when we went to wait, did we go to Brahms while you were here? Did we go to
Brahms?
Yeah, Brahms.
Is that a restaurant?
Yeah, it's a burger and ice cream place.
I think we passed it.
Okay.
But I don't think we went.
He used to do the commercials for Brahms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so Brahms is only in 5 states: in Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma. It's from Oklahoma. A little bit in New Mexico, and Kansas and Missouri. So.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think they might sell that one, and I don't know if they sell that one in New Mexico. I could be lying; it's been a while, but no. So it's very local franchise, and it's got pretty good stuff. The ice cream can't be beat. So
yes, that was the place you were talking about for the quality of the ice cream.
Yes, ice cream and milk. Yes, you can't beat them either. That always get my milk from there.
I think we were talking about where to go for a good dessert, and then, like the naive fool that I was, who didn't know much about the delicacies up on your end, yeah. I looked at you all starry-eyed, and then I said, "I've heard that the Cheesecake Factory has great stuff. Josiah, what's a Cheesecake Factory like?" And you're like, "Oh, I don't know, man. It's not that great."
No, it's pretty garbage chain. I don't know why people go there. The food is very mediocre. They have all different types of stuff. Like they have pastas, they have like Italian, they have Mexican. They have it's an all-in-one like restaurant basically, and all of it's really mediocre. The menus are way too large. It takes way too long to get seated and get stuff done, and it's overpriced. And it's just I don't know why people like the Cheesecake Factory. I don't know why Canadians like the Cheesecake Factory.
I don't know either, man. I've just heard some things. Still haven't gone there. But
It is nothing. It is nothing but mediocre at its core.
That's a shame.
Besides, probably the next time you come out here, we'll have some big whiskeys. So.
Oh hell yeah! Have a good old whiskey. Next time that I come to your end, I am bagging up double the amount of jerky.
Yeah,
because
jerky.
I ran out of jerky way too fast.
Mm.
Well, that's a plan for the future. That's all right. Now,
I mean, I bet you could talk to him and have him ship you some. But I mean, it's not that jerky doesn't weigh that much. But
no, yeah. Plus, I'm also compared to the big bucks, daddy big bucks mode that I was in when I was at your place. I'm on the college student budget now, so no jerky for the next bit.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Jerky is expensive.
It is. C'est la vie. C'est la vie. C'est la vie.
But no, much as we've come to expect from Wooly, his opinion is oftentimes wrong.
Yeah.
But no, it was definitely fun to have you guys out here. I'll probably come, in like 2021, something like that. Every 2 years or so, we'll rotate.
Yeah, we could do something.
I definitely have some more suggestions because my general manager at my bank, she's from Toronto, so she was from Toronto. Yes, she was born in Saskatchewan though, and then they moved to the GTA, and then when she was in like middle school or high school or something like that, they moved to the States. So.
Oh, right on. I have found out quite a bit more about my own neighborhood. Well, Toronto, specifically Mississauga, I have mapped out fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have some spots to check out food-wise once we go and do some stuff again.
I know I'm going back to that steam bun place I went to in Chinatown, though. Boy, oh boy. That place was good.
I'm not sure if you mentioned that. You have found a good place in Toronto?
Yeah, in Chinatown, yeah.
Oh, nice, right on. Okay.
Yeah, when I went to go look for the souvenirs, I stopped by a bun shop and ate a couple buns. It was really good.
I need more tasty steamed buns. We will get our chance. Absolutely.
But let's see here. No, so The Witcher. We watched The Witcher this week. Well, I watched it when it first came out. I binge watched it pretty easily, but Matt just watched it. So, are you finished with it, Matt? Or
I'm done.
Okay, good. It's only 8 episodes, but it does take a while.
They are a hour each. Yeah.
Yeah.
I finished the.
Well, there are some that are like 42 and others that are 53. It's really weird.
Yeah. I finished the last episode about 30 to 40 minutes ago. So no,
Ooh.
I cut it close, but I did get the job done. I stayed up fairly late, and then woke up quite early today, and just kind of powered my way through school and through work, and then just finished up with the last episode on the bus home mostly. So yeah, I've got it all packed, all consolidated inside of the brain.
In the old noggin, yep.
In the noggin, yeah. Witcher was pretty good. What's there to say about the Witcher? I have to ask you, have you seen Game of Thrones?
No, I never got on. Yeah, it was too late to get on the train, and I'm kind of glad I didn't because of the shambles that it turned into. But
Yeah. Because what I've heard, partly through memes, but stuff in general, what I've heard is that this goes along a similar vein, and I'm a little bit worried that The Witcher might also start very strong and finish kind of weak. But what I've seen so far for season 1 has been promising. So if they just keep what they have so far, then season 2 should slap pretty hard as well.
Oh yeah, they've already got the next 3 seasons planned out. They're trying to get 7. They've already got they've got it renewed till season 4, I think now.
Ah, good.
But no, they have. I mean, they got like 9 books to go through, and they didn't even go through all the one book in this last season. So they only went through like all the major plot points. There's still a lot of side stories. I hope they go back and cover. I'm actually reading the Last Wish, which is the book that the Netflix covers, the Netflix series covers, and so. The reason I started there isn't because I just watched a Netflix show. It's also a good one they say to start at, and it's also the first one they're doing hardcover. All the other Witcher books have come here, but they're all paperbacks. And so now they're starting to do hardcovers in line with the TV show. And so I'm going to start collecting them there because, man, oh man, there's plenty of dry humor in The Witcher, but there is so much more humor in the, Dandelion and Geralt are just like constantly going back and forth with dirty jokes and innuendos.
Good.
It's great.
What I've seen, as I pointed out, has been nice. I am going to knock off my criticisms off the bat because my positives do outweigh the negatives by quite a bit. So let's just rip off that Band-Aid. First of all, really, honestly, kind of wish this was told in chronological order.
There's a reason they don't do it that way.
Oh yeah. In the twist of Geralt being locked up.
Well, yeah.
In the castle during the time of the siege. It's there to support the way that the story was told, and that's fine. But
it's also a way that they can tell past adventures, so you get a better idea of Geralt while simultaneously following around Ciri. That's what they had to do. I read some interviews with the director, and she said that. The reason that they did the back and forth, especially, it's not, well, number one, it's like that in the books a lot, like it jumps all over the place, and you'll hear about a battle, and it's like, oh, you're the Butcher of Blaviken, blah, 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 and then like 3 chapters later, it's like, oh, yes, this is a story where Geralt becomes the Butcher of Blaviken. And, and so it's like, it's that way exactly in the books, and, time flows very differently, but the thing is that they didn't want to introduce Ciri in the second season and just use like Geralt in the first season. They didn't think there was enough to get people invested, so that's why they did the multiple storylines.
That's fair.
Which makes sense, and they were just juggling the best they could while also keeping it because the thing is that with this series, what they did is they tried to keep it. They tried to make both parties happy. The people who played the games, the people who read the books.
Right.
And so I think they did a magnificent job. I mean, obviously they had to cut out a lot of details and change a couple things from the books, so it made sense for TV. But I mean, like most of those were very much needed, and like they cut down on scenes that didn't really matter, and like comedy that just kept going on, and to be able to make it into a suitable format even for Netflix. So, I mean, as far as that goes, I think they did a good job. I would definitely recommend binge watching it because then it makes much more sense, like in at least 2 or 3 sittings, because that way you can get a grasp on the real timeline of things by keeping up with it consistently. But I think that was one of the strong suits. Actually, was just the way that they developed it, because everything, even though they were jumping around in the time. and when the time was and the actual storyline was going to. They didn't really get too far ahead of themselves, or everything was sort of in a somewhat chronological order, but because he meets Jessica or Dandelion. His name is Dandelion in the books because that's what and Jasker in the series because Jasker is a Polish word for dandelion. And I thought it'd be too ridiculous if they referred to him as Dandelion in the series. But since I've been reading it for the last 2 weeks, I'm just gonna call him Dandelion for the rest of the podcast, just so you know. But I mean, even that, whenever they skip, it's always because we see the story where he met Dandelion first. We don't get a story where he's already with Dandelion, And then after that, all the adventures after that, he's already met Dandelion. And, and those adventures don't always line up chronologically, but we've been introduced to that. Was the most important thing, was introducing the characters and then telling stories afterwards. They included those characters, so.
Yeah.
It was not an easy task to do with, keeping everybody happy. So I definitely applaud them for doing that the way they did, because it may not make sense from your first viewing, but after you see the whole thing, it really does line up. So
yeah, I can trust that.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing, and this might be me lacking the cultural ear and sensitivities rather, but man, trying to make out really what is being said and what is going on through some of those accents is sometimes a little bit tricky, but for the most part I followed along pretty well, but every now and then that does get in the way, especially with the sounds of swords and fire in the background, but that's just a small thing, but not a huge knockoff.
Are you telling me you don't watch Netflix with captions on all the time?
I refuse to do that.
Oh, mine are always on.
Oh, gotcha.
I never turn them off on Netflix or Hulu because sometimes I'm just I'm watching it at bed, late at night, and I don't want it to be too loud, but I still need to know what's going on, or like you said, sometimes people have really funny accents that are hard to hear, and so just I just leave the captions on no matter what.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I'm trying to train myself to get a better ear for discerning those kinds of things. So.
Oh man, here's a rabbit hole. Okay, so the thing about ears is that you have these little hairs in your ear. And whenever you're young, they're nice and they're big and they're strong and they're tough and they're very sensitive. But as the years go by, they do get damaged. So basically, you peak at a certain age, usually in your early 20s, and then after that, your hearing cannot come back to that peak, and it forever just becomes slowly worse and worse. So I'm sorry, but all of your efforts are in vain, my friend.
Josiah, I'm no.
There's only ways you can minimize the damage. This I actually learned by watching Chihaya Furu, which is a anime about three friends who play Karta, the 100 Poems card game in Japan. And their sensei, one of the people at their Karta clubs, Dr. Harada, he unfortunately cannot. He doesn't have his game sense anymore because by the time he got his doctorate and then started playing Karta again, he was in his 30s, and so his hearing was significantly worse than what it was in 21. And he went to several of his friends who were specialists on hearing, and they told him the bad news that he could never hear as good as when he was at 21, no matter what he did.
Right.
And because his days of youth were gone. And so then he had to develop a different way to become a better Karta player. So,
there you go.
But that's a very real thing. So
Yeah. But I'm also not in my early 20s anymore.
Yes, I know.
No, it's bad news.
Yes, it is bad news.
We make do. Well, c'est la vie. once again.
C'est la vie.
And
C'est la vie.
C'est la vie.
C'est la vie. Oh man.
For those wondering, I have spiked my circle of friends with a lot of Eric Andre recently, and that's been going over well. Looking forward to knocking off season 2. But back to The Witcher.
Yes.
Witcher was a good time. Now that we've gotten past those, we can get to the positives. Man, Henry Cavill knocked it out of the fucking park.
Yes,
as Geralt.
Yes, Henry Cavill did.
Oof, shit. Sorry, Mr. Henry Cavill knocked it out of the park as Geralt. A interview that I caught a little bit of. Didn't watch the whole thing, but it opened up with him basically going, "Oh no, like I'm absolutely like one of those fans who's like, no, I've read the book, I've played the games, so when I go in there, I also look at the character from the angle of not only an actor, but a fan as well, who is willing to go, no, Geralt wouldn't do this, he would say this, blah 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 blah." So no, it's really great to hear that he has the background of being part of the Witcher fandom, and knowing Geralt very well.
Well, not only that, but he even gets he gets praise from Andrew Szapowski, the author, who thought that he did a really great Geralt. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you got the author's blessing, and everything's going really well. It's kind of the opposite of what the Watchmen situation is, where it's split the fan base. A lot of people are upset about it. A lot of people say other people are upset about it because of things that they aren't upset about, because they're trying to virtue signal. And of course the director is saying, "Oh no, Alan Moore is a piece of garbage. Even though I'm continuing his work, I think he's a piece of garbage, and I don't value his opinion at all. And he's just a big old wimp, and blah blah blah. And he hasn't even made a comment about me directing it yet, but I'm just gonna put him on blast and say that I'm better than him." So yeah, this is a complete. And then they're ending the Watchmen series at the first season because nobody's watching it.
What can you do?
So yeah, this is a complete opposite. This is the opposite of Watchmen. So everybody loves it. It's a very good environment. There are some people that have some critiques and stuff like that. Like what is it? Yennefer. They had a critique about Yennefer because she is. Not the actress who portrays her so much, and not anything about heritage or anything like that. But Yennefer does have like a brownish red hair in most of the games. Although I haven't gotten to her part in the book yet, so I don't know how the book describes her. But yeah, it's little things like that, and they're not like up in arms about it or anything like that. But they do comment where it's like, oh, I kind of wish this was more like the game, because that's the Yennefer I like, or
Right.
But
I will say that during the first couple of episodes, wow, let me try to speak. During the first couple of episodes, when we first get to know Yennefer, this is a bit of a tough statement because we don't get much time with her, and she peaks quickly in terms of how much she can develop in this state. Mm-hmm. But I almost liked her more as a hunchback. I kind of liked what she was going through and how they portrayed her quite a lot there. When she went through the ritual, she got bratty extremely quickly. And I wouldn't say that that's necessarily a knock against the show overall, because that was pretty clearly a intentional choice of what they want to do with the character, to have her deal with the trauma that she's gone through. So yeah, it's pretty clear why they went the way that they did, but I kind of liked the old Yennefer. Did appreciate that.
From what I hear, they rushed her backstory, basically. There wasn't too much about it in the games, because she's really only in the third game. But from the people who I've seen comment, and you gotta take it with a grain of salt, but they did kind of rush her character development. And the director did talk about that because they need Yennefer in it, because she plays a vital role in a lot of the books. And you don't really get to learn Yennefer's backstory until later, but again, they wanted to get like the three main characters established so they can do some of those bigger stories and things like that, that are easier to, and easier to market to broader audiences and such like that, so I understand why they did it like that. Obviously, in a perfect world, we could have something, much more straight out of the books, but then again, like, some of these stories go on, and like, they're great if you're reading it, but like, transitioning that to television, you don't have the attention span,
Yeah. No, I believe that. Also touching on the transitional period, I do have to give my props to the whole process that the Witcher franchise is going through so far, because it seems to be hitting all of the forms of a media in a ascending order as far as profitability goes. You start off as a book, which is fairly niche for any consumer nowadays. They went straight to a video game from there. Now a TV show. The only way that we could hit the mass appeal more directly than they already have is if we go straight to a movie. So they're hitting pretty much every note as far as what you can do with a piece of media is concerned. So I can only imagine that the author is fairly happy about this, and at least more so than when this was just a game.
With the renegotiation of the contract, yes.
Yeah.
When he sold the rights to whoever, I forget the publishing company of the games, but whenever he sold the rights to them, he thought that nobody was going to play it, and that it wouldn't transition well to a game. And to be fair, like, some of the controls are still a little bit janky, even in the third one. And sometimes you can just get flooded. Sometimes you can just like you lose all interest with all the side quests and stuff like that. But for people like Pat, who will thrive on getting everything completed, it's definitely, and with stable lore behind it. That's one of the hardest things for one of those games where there's a lot of things to do and a lot of collectathons and stuff like that. Outside like things like Skyrim and Fallout, The Witcher definitely did come out of a place where it already had established lore, so they didn't have to really come up with much. They just had to implement it correctly, So.
By the way, the development studio you're thinking of is CD Projekt.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I don't know what else up.
Oh yeah, it's alright. Nice.
Oh yeah. But you could just look up Witcher 3 and it'll show you.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I wasn't gonna attempt to try and name somebody wrong.
Oh yeah, no worries. I am good with the dev names and publisher names, so I gotcha. No worries. So yeah, what else is there to say?
Just go watch it. It's the #1 streaming television show right now. It beat out The Mandalorian.
Ooh, that's
for like 2 weeks
impressive.
In a row. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How can you beat Baby Yoda? Everyone loves Baby Yoda.
Well, because you can watch all The Witcher in one sitting. Mandalorian had to come out episode by episode by episode because Disney just can't give us what we want.
Nope.
But no, yeah, we don't want to spoil too much. Obviously, we said the three main characters: Geralt the Witcher, Ciri, Princess, and Yennefer the Witch. And so that's just or sorceress or chosen one. It depends on what you're talking about. There's a lot of vocabulary that gets thrown around that's all the same. There's multiple occupations and multiple people who have different names and different titles and stuff like that, and all starts to run together. It's very synonymous. Even in the books, they're like that too. But yeah, it's great. Like you said, Henry Cavill really nails it. He gets the tones of JR. Even if all the speaking parts aren't, completely indicative of Geralt, there are a couple things here and there which, like the books would disagree with or this or that. But it makes it much more entertaining in, like, a television portrayal. And so it's just it's a really good watch. It's 8 episodes. It's about 8 hours. So just
have at her.
Get on it.
I do have to say that I do love the fact that we are officially, by the looks of it, fingers crossed, knock on wood. Don't want to jinx it, but it looks like we're in the era of good video game adaptations, because not only for the Witcher being, to my understanding, by far the highest rated live action video game adaptation so far, but on top of that, on the animated front, for the past couple of years, Castlevania has cemented itself as the best over there. Mm-hmm. So we seem to be getting into the good video game show era. Oh, is this a turning point? Is it? I hope.
Well, so there's something interesting that came out today. So on the official Facebook Netflix account, not Netflix France, not Netflix Germany, not Netflix UK, but on the official original Netflix account today, they had an ad saying that all 21 Studio Ghibli films are coming to Netflix. In February, March, and April, they'll be releasing, 1 wave, 2 waves, and 3 waves. And it said it'll be available for everyone. And except that they forgot to put a little asterisk in their video or in their comments section. And if you search it right now, Netflix Studio Ghibli, you'll find out that Netflix is streaming it in all countries that they're in, except for Japan, the US, and Canada. Somehow, HBO Go has gotten the rights for streaming Studio Ghibli films in Canada and the United States. How Disney dubbed all of them and had the distribution rights up until a year ago. You'd think that they would have it on Disney Plus, since whenever you look up Disney movies, a lot of the Studio Ghibli films are there as well, even though they shouldn't be. No,
they shouldn't at all.
Because all they did was dub them and localize them. They didn't have anything to do with the actual production. But yes, no, not even Japan. They couldn't even get it in Netflix Japan, and so it's quite ridiculous. And that, like I said, they didn't include that. I had to look it up because I was like, oh, what's the release schedule? And so I looked it up. I was like, Studio Ghibli, Netflix, clack, clack, clack on my keyboard, and it says, oh, it's coming to and all the articles said, oh, Studio Ghibli, Netflix, not in America, not in America, not in America.
The added sting of No Canada too is that I can't even host a stream and then just go, hey, come on, you can watch it for free.
I mean, thankfully, because of NordVPN, we can, do whatever. But yeah.
In that case, you could. Oh.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Of course, I've already got my copies of all the Ghibli films at once, so, no skin off my back, necessarily, but...
But you gotta kneel down, you gotta grab the DVD, put it into your Xbox, you gotta power it on, all these hassles of modern technology. Get it on Netflix, nothing really matters,
Yeah, I just couldn't believe it because all my friends were sharing it, and I'm like, oh, hey guys, I hate to tell you this, but it's not coming to the United States, so... yeah...
Great job.
I just can't believe how Netflix and Disney Plus let HBO Go steal Studio Ghibli films out from underneath them. Both of them who should have first pick on this sort of stuff. Netflix has already had several. Like they had the World of Variety and then a couple of the other ones on there already. Mm-hmm. And they've had a lot of them on there, at different times, but. Just the audacity, how could you let such a big fish just swim right through your net?
Yeah.
And then you advertise that you're getting it, but you don't say the disclaimer anywhere in that post. And the Facebook, it's been watched like 3 million times now.
That's a really big disclaimer that they should have.
Yeah,
too.
at least in the comments, like maybe not in the video, but in the comments, they should have put a release schedule and everything. No, nowhere.
Well, I still need to watch any Studio Ghibli film, any of them. I need to like knock off one of them, like just to fucking start. But Netflix not gonna be the place to do it, I guess.
We'll have to do it to Discord streaming because I have all the digital copies. So
there you go.
We start with Porco Rosso.
Start with Spirited Away. Yeah, I have heard Josiah say many times, many times, Spirited Away, best Ghibli film. Nothing like it. Nothing better.
That's not even objectively true. Objectively, it's either Princess Mononoke or Nausicaa the Valley of the Wind.
Based on the promotional art and snippets, clips that I've seen, the one that I would like to start with, to be serious for a moment, is Princess Mononoke.
Yeah, Princess Mononoke is probably the best in all of them, with Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind a close second, and then probably Laputa after that. The Castle in the Sky, Laputa. I think that's how you say. I can't remember. It's been like years since I've seen. I think I watched it on the cruise last. Yeah, Laputa. Yeah. Laputa, Castle in the Sky, yep. And that would definitely be a 3. And then it would be Spirited Away and Porco Rosso and and then like Kiki's Delivery Service and
then everything else all sucks.
Pompoy, what was it? No, Ponyo, and then like From the Sea with Marnie, and then The Secret of Variety, and then. Well, a lot of them were on the same level, but those 3 definitely stand out the most.
All right. So no actual like stinkers for.
Oh no, they're all of them are great. Even like The Cat Returns, and then the Pompoko, and even some of the more like ridiculous films are all great. And then of course My Neighbor Totoro, which is. My Neighbor Totoro isn't like any sort of success, but it's definitely a movie. There's hardly any dialogue in it, and it tells a great story, and it's definitely there for all ages. And then what's that one? What's that one that always makes everybody cry? Was it Graveyard of Fireflies, right? Or
Graveyard of the Fireflies, yeah.
Yeah.
All I know about Graveyard of the Fireflies is that gag that Wooly used to pull on people. Where like I don't understand the context behind this, but he had like a tin of candy. He had like shaken someone's face.
Yeah,
that was from a horrible scene in that movie or something.
Yeah, the Grave of Fireflies was like one that like Nausicaa. I believe Nausicaa was the first one, and then the Graveyard of Fireflies was. After that, but that one's definitely up there as well as far as like storytelling goes. Animation's about right for the time, but yeah, there's a lot. Like Netflix said, there's 21 of them. So
right on.
And obviously, not all of them are done by Miyazaki. So only about half of those are done by Miyazaki. So. I mean, he always plays some sort of role in it, but like usually it's like most of them are written by him, so or at least adapted.
There was a ad. Actually, come to think of it, this is pretty relevant. When I sat down to watch Premiere, there was a ad in the theater of hey, come to Cineplex Canada's theaters. And on these dates, we're just showing these Ghibli movies. And then I just slotted it into the back of my brain. Totally forgot about it, but there you go. They do show them here in Canada sometimes. we have our own theater anime scene, but mainly just the really big stuff where it's like people are gonna come and watch this again and again. Money's gonna come in. Yeah. Premiere had a extra viewing once here in Canada, I think, but yeah, usually the really well-known stuff like Ghibli. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys have G Kids up there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think that G Kids was the one responsible for
Premiere,
bringing, Premiere.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Or are they the ones that were responsible for dubbing it? It's one or the other.
No, they're usually the distributing ones. I don't know if they dub it or not. I just know that they usually distribute it through Fathom Events, and G Kids is the authority over it.
Gotcha. Because I know that I have heard the name G Kids before, so yeah, that's a thing here, I'm sure. So yeah, that was a good time. What else? So yeah, Witcher, go watch it. What else?
Netflix, don't go watch it. I mean, go watch Netflix for The Witcher, but nothing else. Man, can we talk about all the garbage anime that's on, or how like Netflix doesn't acquire anime correctly? So they have Fate Stay. Well, no, they have Fate Zero. They have Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, but they don't have Fate Stay Night, which is the original one.
Now, as we found out after I came back to Canada with the shocker of the Avatar situation, we found out that Canadian Netflix and the States Netflix actually vary. So I can take a look and see if things are different here on my end.
But no, I know that they acquire things randomly in all the countries. That's the thing. Like, they don't like what was it? They just acquired Clannad recently, like both series, Clannad and the Clannad After Story.
Gotcha.
And so I would if that, I don't know if they have that in Canon Netflix, but I would definitely watch that if I were you, because that's a big one from the early 2000s. But
I recall Liam saying that Clannad's his favorite anime.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's definitely a game changer.
Oh yeah.
It's hard for me. It's hard for me to even watch the opening without tearing up, man. Like, especially the ending too. Gosh, like,
that's a bold statement.
It's so dynamic. It starts out like such a regular like slice of life, and then it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And this is one where actually two of the main characters do get together and start a family and stuff like that. And so it definitely set itself apart from a lot of other things at the time. Because it's campy. Like, it starts out, it's very campy, it's very slice of life, and then it really starts hitting those deep tones.
I'm looking at the art now. Does the studio behind this, behind Clannad, or the group that did the manga, there's something about this art style that's like there's a group that did this before, like an all-female manga artist group or something.
Well, this is the thing, is that it's not from a manga.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's from a harem game.
Gotcha.
Which is why it stands out apart from all the other ones, is because it actually has. They actually made it into a story instead of just the harem the tease of a harem game that it is.
Yeah, Clamp. That's Clamp. That's what I'm thinking of. That's the all-female manga artist group. I've read a couple things by Clamp.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, the people who did this. It was KyoAni who animated it, and then it was produced by Pony Canyon and TBS. But and I think there might be some light novels it's based off of. I don't remember. It's been so long.
Oh, there always is one or two light novels that you didn't know about that just show up in a search. Yeah. So yeah, Here in Canada, we've got Fate Extra Last Encore. We've got Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. Fate Zero, which according to our boy Sterling is the only good one. And of course, we have Fate Apocrypha. And those 4 are the 4 that Canadian Netflix has.
Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't a harem game. It was a visual novel, which is one of those click through the novel ones.
Oh, visual novels, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how the Fate series got its start. That's true.
Although it is kind of still a harem game though, because you can make some choices, but.
Oh yeah. Beyond that, and the stuff that you've mentioned here specifically, I don't have too much of a knowledgeable background on how Netflix has messed up their anime.
Well, the problem is that they'll get a lot of the latest thing of a series that has been around for a long, long time, and it's like the last iteration. It's basically like them getting like the what is the latest EPO season called? Gosh, it's it's basically like getting the last
Rocky 5.
Yeah, basically. It's basically like getting Rocky 5 and Rocky 4, but never having any of the other Rocky films. Like,
oh, that's stupid. Why would you ever do that?
It's like how they keep telling me that the Castle of Castello Lupin is new on Netflix, and it's like, no, you've had this every 4 years. You get this. Why do you keep telling me this is new? This Lupin movie that you keep getting and you keep renewing the contract on is not new. I watched it on Netflix 3 years ago. I know.
Each time that we renew the contract, the ads automatically kick in.
And they never get any of the other Lupin films. They never get any of the Lupin series. Like, it's just like they get these little excerpts of things that are popular, but they never like get the full set or even like a half set. Like,
man, I did not know too much about that. Like, with the exception of the Fate franchise, if I had sat down to think about it and take a note of what was already on Netflix, then I would have noticed. Oh yeah, they kind of started with blank and blankety blank blank blank. But no, I never actually sat down to take note of, like, yeah, they've got a lot of this stuff out of order. I think a lot of it might have to do with the fact that I am a Crunchyroll subscriber and I watch my anime on Crunchyroll instead. But that's neither here nor there, so I don't really go through the catalog much.
I mean, it's okay if you want to support lying fascists, but which isn't even a joke. They are lying fascists, but you know.
Oh man!
All the money goes to studios, man. What are you talking about? We spend all your money just getting you good anime. Oh, and by the way, all the money you sent us, we opened up our own anime studio. And oh, what, we're gonna make an anime, but then we're not, but then we're gonna, but then we're maybe gonna.
So none of it goes to the artists, eh?
Basically, oh man, there were a couple people from Kyo Annie who did some Twitter questions recently, and they were like, no, if you have to, either buy it from Japan or buy it through an importer when it has English subtitles, or just pirate it. Because we don't get any money from any of the localization, like.
Because I've seen instances of artists saying that in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always this extreme to have to drive someone to say, just fucking pirate it.
Yeah.
That's always the worst thing on a production. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, KyoAni's been like run over by the bus a couple times by Funimation and Crunchyroll, so you know.
Ooh, man. Maybe.
Although I will say Funimation is definitely the lesser of two evils. They do put a lot of money into it, a lot more money than Crunchyroll ever has. So, of course, they do a lot of dubbing. So you know, they actually procure rights and all this sort of besides just streaming rights. So you know, I can't blame Funimation, but they don't have a catalog big enough, you know, to be the one to do everything. You know.
So what you're saying is that the ethical thing to do is right now to cancel my subscription to Crunchyroll. Go subscribe to Funimation now. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Done. Doing it right now.
But yeah, no, like as soon as they announced High Guardian Spice, like what, a year and a half ago, or 2 years, maybe 2 years ago. Let's look it up here. High Guardian Spice. In which actually one of the people who worked on it said that it will be coming out eventually this year.
Was that person perhaps a friend of ours?
No, it wasn't her, but it was gosh, I forget who it was. But yeah, no, it was. It's read a post called "What Happened to High Guardian Spies." But the official Twitter has been silent ever since everybody came down on them. No, yeah, it was 2018. Oh, no, wait. Yeah, no, they shut down the forum thread. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was 2018 that they started doing that. Yeah, as soon as the first trailer dropped, they lost so many subscriptions. It was...
I believe it.
And then our mutual friend, you know, after she finished that project, you know, she called it, which was like, gosh, they finished the production on it like ages ago. Mm-hmm. She's been on 2 different other like series since then. Yes, yeah, ever since she said it was like one of the worst working environments. She said she was done with it. She didn't even want to go back. Apparently, it was not fun being there. Which I believe that said Reddit user who clarifies things in that Reddit posts also agreed to as well that it was not a well put together studio to begin with. But yeah, no, once people figured out where the money was really going, they said, nah, this is not what we pay you for. We don't need your American animus.
Man.
We don't need your Madoka ripoffs.
Yes. I'm doing a bit of research on the side now. Like, what would the pros and cons? Well, we've already talked about the smaller library. Do you know if Funimation now runs both dubs and subs for what it has, or just dubs?
Oh no, it does subs. Funimation does a simulcast for One Piece. They do a lot of simulcasts with Funimation.
That's good.
Yeah. I'm not 200% sure, you know, because I, being the saint that I am, go with the alternate route.
Yes.
But no, a lot of the you know, less than savory acquirement of certain animes are from the Funimation simuldub, because they do get it out a lot faster than some of the less than the shadier subbers. So
yeah, because what it comes down to for me, awful lot of the time, is I like to make myself out to be this interesting anime viewer with niche tastes. But at the end of the day, let's be real here. If I have a streaming service that will get me my macadamia fast and hard, then realistically speaking, I'm gonna be pretty happy.
Yeah, Funimation does the simulcast with macadamia. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can take a gander, see what my options are.
Speaking of which, that last episode, woo boy, poop doggies.
I am caught up with the manga, but not the anime. But if I recall correctly, based on clips that I've been seeing, we just wrapped up the overhaul fight, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that was a fucking banger in the manga.
Yeah. So now the League of Villains have the serum and the antidote. So.
Yes, and that also means we are coming up to my favorite fight in the series. Oh boy, it's just around the corner. I'm not joking around here. I'm being totally serious.
And which fight is that?
The fight between Deku and Gentle is Ooh! Man, Gentle is the best fucking villain in that series so far. Putting it down here. Strong statement, but I think Gentle is the most interesting villain that series has given us. So I'm looking forward to seeing him adapted into the anime, because that's a strong-ass character. Looking forward to seeing what they do. It's coming. It's coming soon. Hopefully at the tail end of this season, if not the start of season 5. Who knows?
Yeah, it'll probably be what rounds out this season. They still got. I mean, this is just the beginning of the spring season, and they just finished off their villain. So, yeah, they still have quite a bit of. They have like 10 more episodes to fill for this, but maybe 11. But so it'll be interesting. You gotta get into the cultural festival first. So.
Oh yeah. The fight with him is really what climaxes the cultural festival. Gentle was never the most powerful or terrifying villain. That's pretty obvious. But what he brought to the table for the narrative, for what a reject hero really does for their society, really interested me a lot. That arc of the manga really drew me in, so I'm looking forward to seeing him come soon. Gentle fight soon. Let's see it. So that's about it for that. I think we're all right for the time being. You got anything you want to wrap up?
Well, I watched Makoto Shinkai's newest movie last Thursday, which is Weathering with You.
Weathering with You?
Yes. And that was a real treat. It was definitely interesting. The thing about Makoto Shinkai is he always has these very subtle romances, and it seems like the more he goes on, the less realistic the situations are, like the more supernatural things become, that get involved, because like his first one, 5 centimeters per second, was something that could actually happen in the real world based off of like things that could happen. And then Garden of Words, same thing. And then we get to things like Your Name and what was it, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, and like this one, Weathering the Storm with You, and they get much more supernatural as time goes on, and it becomes very interesting. But the thing that Makoto does that I never can really follow him. Like, he's never too obvious with how the story is going to go, Like, there's no, like, a lot of movies will be like, oh, okay, we're going to go here. Oh, okay, this is a climax. Oh, this and that, blah, blah, blah. But Makoto, he always keeps me guessing. And it's not the bad thing. It's not in, like, a messy way or anything like that. But his motives aren't really seen until the last little bit of the film. And it really does pull together nicely. It's a coming-of-age story. It's about running away from things to running to things that you want. And there's a whole bunch of sponsorships for Coca-Cola and McDonald's, so
yeah.
It's definitely one of his more interesting films, I'd say.
I don't have the background with Shinkai stuff that you do. Like most people, I have noticed based on its success, I have only really seen Your Name, and that was a heck of a gut punch of a film. So if this new one is anything like that, then I would like to give that a look. So I'll keep an eye out.
But no, I've been a big fan ever since I read the manga that went along with 5 centimeters per second. That was the first one that he adapted. The 5 centimeters per second was an adaptation movie, and then after that he really started doing more of his own ideas and such like that. So, what was it? And then The Children That Chase Lost Voices, that's also a really good one. He's basically being hailed as the new Miyazaki in a way. Some people. There's a little bit of people who are starting to say that because of how popular this movie's like. What was it? The Weathering with You is now, it has the same nominations that Your Name had back in 2016. So
Jeez.
it's taken everybody by storm. So they'll probably have another showing of it coming around, because they had 4 showings. They had it for 2 weeks here, which is unheard of, for an anime movie.
Oh yeah.
And so I wouldn't doubt that they, and my theater was sold out, yeah. And we were like at the later one, and so usually those are a little bit less crowded, but it was sold out completely. And I'm glad I got the tickets a month early, but it was definitely, I mean, just see if it's coming around to your place. Go out and see it. It's definitely a great one. It makes you think. It's, like I said, it's a coming of age story. I really like it. It's realistic in the reality that it has, and there's a little bit of, it's starting to get into that Miyazaki plane where there's like mixes this sort of creative world with reality, This sort of it's trying to mix fairy tales into reality and have this weird fusion of it, like Spirited Away and Porco Rosso and all these other ones where they dwell with different time periods and different people and different like folklore and such like that. And it's interesting to see the sort of stuff he's come up with. So.
Right.
But. Although I will say this is the first time I've seen, there was a little bit of CG in Your Name. But this was definitely the most CG that's ever been in a Makoto Shinkai movie, which is kind of not great, but I mean, it wasn't bad. It was just like vehicles and things like that. It wasn't people yet, so I can forgive it. So
it's
go out and see it.
It's not always going to be totally perfect. I wish that I could chime in with something a bit more interesting, but once again, compared to you, we don't have the background of what his stuff's normally like.
Yeah.
But
that was the thing why he was being called. Some people were comparing him to Miyazaki's early stuff, is because everything that him and his studio did was hand drawn. It wasn't digital, yeah. And so for a long time there, everything was being done hand drawn, and now they're basically forced to do stuff more digitally now. But it's not too bad. It's very minimalistic, and so it's nice to see that it's not going whole hog like some other places. So, like, geez, those mecha anime movies, oof.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Although I will say that Promare definitely they blended the CG very well.
Oh yeah, Premiere. That was one of the reasons why it stood out to me so well. We've had a bad recent history with CG,
and especially with the mecha anime movies.
Yeah, let's be totally realistic and put all our cards on.
Like, gosh, A Lost Paradise. Oof.
I haven't even seen clips of that, and I'm gonna trust you that you're totally right.
Oh, it was a couple years ago, yeah. And some of it felt like PS3 graphics, like.
Ooh, that's bad. that's not good. But yeah, Premiere stood out to me for like, okay, they're trying out these CG tricks. This has a recent history of not working, but
man, that opening shot at the city! Oh my gosh, like
everything.
The opening shot with all the all the symmetric like street lights and fire hydrants and like buildings and stuff like that, and how well that was done CG. Like, they're getting better at blending it and making it much more into a stylized version instead of just trying to go over fake realism.
Mm-hmm. Like for about a week. Well, I tend to exaggerate things, so let's say like actually a couple days really. For a couple days, you might recall, I would not stop fanboying over that 3-second shot of Leo sitting down in his
In the throne,
oversized
yeah.
chair.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was maybe the first shot of the film where I was like, okay, you're doing it right. You're actually doing it right. So no, yeah.
Mhm.
Full confidence to the current state of Trigger. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Do you think there's anyone left on the team who worked on Gurren Lagann?
Oh
Or is
yeah.
there no one left?
Oh yeah. No, I bet there is. The A team is very well still alive from that era. I mean, they got on the B team, and that's the stuff you see with a lot of the anime right now. I mean, every once in a while, like My Witch Academia, that had the A team on it, but like the B team did things like
Darling and the Franks.
yeah, Darling and the Franks, and then what was that one about the cop? Inferno Cop. Yeah, Inferno Cop, and then there was Space Patrol Luluco, which was actually pretty good. And that was done by the B team, but the B team is much more hit and miss. And then Kill la Kill was definitely that was the A team and the B team. They hadn't really split up yet at that point, but they do have a B team now, and it shows in some of the work. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have people back from Gurren Lagann. Because that's like 2003, 2002, like it's not that far back.
Gurren was 2000. I think it was either late 2007 or 2008.
That was 2005. Let's see.
It had this year its 11th anniversary. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 2007. Okay, yeah.
So no, yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was so much earlier. Oh, well. Oh yeah, then even more so. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. Of course, that was right before it became, Trigger.
Yes.
It was still Gynax for Gurren Lagann, yeah.
Gurren was really the last thing that Gynax did as Gynax, basically.
Yeah.
What a series to go out on, though.
Yeah.
No complaints there. But yeah, that's all well and good. Glad to hear that things are going well on the Shinkai front. I will see if I can find if anything's going on in theaters near me, but on my budget, no promises. But I can see what's
those anime movies don't come cheap.
No, boy, oh boy. Things are going well for what I'm watching and taking in nowadays recently. All that I'm really doing is keeping caught up with stuff that I already know and like. All of the fundamentals. I'm actually more interesting nowadays on the gaming front than on the anime front, because there's just keep up.
I mean, you've always been more on the gaming front than the anime front, to be fair.
Oh, 100% for my whole life. So for that, I have recently got into Valkyria Chronicles, and that is one of the best turn-based strategy games that I've played ever, period. I'm saying it now. It is one of the fucking best. That game is great. So I'm looking forward to beating Valkyria Chronicles. Gotten a fair few missions done so far. I'm on, I think, about chapter 5, so making some good headway on that. I recently purchased Katana Zero on the Switch, and that is that's a lot of fun. Made by Devolver, who made something else that I also picked up recently, which was Ruiner. Ruiner plays like a more fully fleshed out 3D version of Hotline Miami, which you may remember is one of my favorite games for the Vita. I love the fuck out of a Hotline Miami. The fact that this is more fully 3D and really has to take the time to render the models. It means that it's a little bit slower as far as gameplay is concerned than a Hotline was. Because for those of you who were not blessed with the chance to play Hotline Miami, Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2, basically perspective top-down stuff going on, extremely fast and ultra-violent gameplay. Very fast game going on there. Had a lot of fun with that. So seeing what the team has learned from both Hotline 1 and 2 and adapted over to Ruiner has been quite a lot of fun. And as for Katana Zero, that's on a 2D plane, so it's a little bit of a shake-up. But based on what I've seen, it's like some of the stuff that in the recent past Mark of the Ninja did with the stealth action kind of a gameplay. Mm-hmm. So that blended with the speed and violence of a standard Devolver title is what really made Katana Zero what it is. So that's a lot of fun. So that's bought quite a few recently during the last shebang that I had with Christmas money. Now the games that I have now are holding me over quite well. Don't really need anything too much. And that's about all for me. Not much to complain about. Things are all right. See if I can knock off these games and get back to stuff that I have put on the bench. For example, Gundam 0083. I haven't continued since I was talking about it with Sterling, but no rush. There's always more to play, always more to see. So there will be more time for that in the future. And that's about it for me. Yeah.
Alright, that's a wrap. So everybody go watch The Witcher, and then go watch the Food Network episode where they try to make cakes out of Pokemon with people who've never seen Pokemon before.
I have not heard about this.
You should definitely look it up.
Okay. So,
bye-bye.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And stop.